Hey everybody, this is the Hurdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network, and we are broadcasting live from the state of the art studios right here in Round Rock, Texas tonight. And I have Belinda sitting next to me, Belinda Mendoza.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Awesome. And you know what? We got a lot of cool things to talk about tonight. We're actually going to talk about a subject called Feng Shui, and she's going to dive into that. But I got to clear the decks a little bit, Belinda, before we start.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
and that is to tell you guys that I converted a radio show from the old days into the new days by using Google Hangouts, but I make it audio only. I did invite the public, so if you're public and you saw this come out to you somehow on Google Plus, you can listen. But I don't open it up for Q&A. It's kind of a discussion infomercial for the small businesses in Austin that I cover. I have 8 sponsors. We'll mention a few of those tonight on the show. But this is a way for me to help small business out, have a voice in their community, talk about their business. And this is like show number 82, Belinda.
Wow.
So we've been doing it for a while, and it's really been a great thing for our guests to come on and have some fun and talk about their business. And then we give you a gift. We go back and make a custom player of this show after it's up on YouTube, and we give you a nice little embed code and link so that people can check out the custom player on your website. So that's
Wonderful.
the kind of fun we have tonight. So real quickly, I want to thank Sherry Sally. Sherry Sally is with HSK Century 21, Georgetown, Texas. She's a realtor, and she, of course, likes to sell homes, and she likes sellers to list their homes. And right now, in this market in Austin, do you know 110 people move to Austin every day?
I believe it.
It's crazy, right? Well, guess what? A realtor right now is looking for one thing. Well, they want to sell it, right? But they're looking for a house to sell. So that she
Hmm.
really is looking for listings. So what I'd like you to do is go check out our website at Wilco TX Homes, wilcotxhomes.com. Sherry Sally, HSK Century 21, Georgetown, Texas, is one of our sponsors. And then I want to thank Jerry's Garage. Jerry's Garage has been in business since 1967. That should tell you something, right, about an
Wow.
auto repair shop. If you've been in
Hmm.
business and your family owns since 67, you're doing some things right.
That's right.
And so they do everything, transmissions, full everything that surrounds a car, truck, they do. They do commercial vehicles as well as personal vehicles, and they're experts. They've been around since 1967. Please go check out Jerry's Garage at Jerry's, and that's jerry's-garage.com. Great website, lots of videos there from YouTube, so go check them out. All right, we're back. Belinda, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Glad to
letting
be
me
here.
clear the decks.
You're good at
It
that.
takes a while. Well, I've been doing it long enough, you
Just
know.
wow. I was just impressed.
Well, thank you very much. But you know, we try to make the show kitchen table talk and slow it down a little bit and have some fun and get into your head a little bit about your business, right? So the first thing I always do is I surprise my clients a lot.
Okay.
They come on, and so I have to ask you some fun questions first, and then
Okay.
we'll talk about how you got where you're at. And that is, what is your favorite color?
Oh, my favorite color, it changes, but mostly I'd say it's green.
It's green. Okay. And particular reason? Or it just draws you in?
It draws me in. It feels like really vibrant and healthy.
Yeah, it has kind of feel to it, doesn't
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Yeah. And so last concert you went to, and who was it and when was it? Do you know?
Oh goodness. Last
Guess.
concert was probably the Rolling Stones
Oh, yeah.
in Memphis
Oh, wow.
about 4 years ago.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
That's all. And how good were they then?
they were awesome.
They're still
They
awesome.
still are.
They rock the house.
They sure do.
And so, favorite music then is classic rock. Is that a good genre for you, or or what is your favorite genre of music?
Oh gosh, I love so many kinds of music, but I do, I love the 80s. Isn't that
No,
terrible?
no, not
But
really.
so I love like rock bands,
Yeah, me too.
like Def Leppard and
Yeah, all the good
uh,
stuff.
Bon Jovi and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and Toto,
yes.
Rosanna, Journey,
We're dating ourselves, but yes,
Journey. Yeah, we are
Journey.
Journey. All those guys, right?
Yes, yes.
All right. So, one of the things I like to do also is, are you an Austinite by birth, or did you kind of migrate here somehow?
I migrated a little about what 45 miles. I'm a native San Antonian,
All right.
born and raised, and
Woohoo.
went to UT here, and I'm a UT graduate. Graduated in the School of Social Work, Hook 'em Horns,
Right.
yeah. Somebody said, I can't believe I didn't realize you were a UT grad because she saw all this UT stuff at my house. Said, oh yeah, when you go to UT, you're there for
You get
you
indoctrinated
stay
to
there
orange.
for life.
Yeah.
So no, but I'm from San Antonio originally, and then I went to school here.
Right. And so you just ended up staying here, or did you go back and then come back again?
No, I actually left. I was working in Houston for a couple of years out of college, and then I landed up moving to Memphis. And I was in Memphis for about 18
Memphis is a
years.
cool state.
It's a cool town.
It is. Now, did you live over near the
Yes, absolutely.
Germantown side,
I lived in
right
Germantown.
off 72?
Yes.
Yeah. You know why I know about that?
No.
Because my dad was a rocket guy, and I was raised in Huntsville, Alabama,
Mhm.
and I went to school in Missouri. And so the way to travel from Huntsville up across the river into Jonesboro and up to Missouri was through Germantown on
Wow.
72.
I didn't think many people knew about that.
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real pretty little town. And then Memphis is just great. I mean, it's got a lot of good music and
Yeah, and downtown's
food.
right on the river,
Mhm.
kind of cool stuff,
Mhm.
Little sleeper city is what I call it.
Right.
When you
Right.
think of big cities, nobody ever says, "Oh, Memphis is cool," but it
No,
is.
it is. It has a lot of history and
Yep, good
um
music. People don't know Nashville is probably the cool place for music, but they don't realize that Memphis has its own good music too. So
yes.
Tennessee's full of it over there.
Right. And it was a home base for me because I worked in medical device sales, so I traveled all over the southeast. So it was a good hub.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah, it
fly
could
out of.
buzz out of there and
Yes.
be anywhere in the United States and go from one side to
Mhm.
the other, north, south, the whole bit. Right.
Right.
Yeah, Memphis is a cool area. Germantown, especially, very
Mhm.
cool to live in. Matter of fact, we got a fun listener show that lives in Germantown, so that's
Wow, small
cool.
world.
Yep, and he teaches social networking over there in Memphis, so that's
Oh,
cool. All right, so tonight we are going to talk about feng shui,
okay.
right? And I'm going to be totally upfront with you. I have no idea what it is. I've heard of it, but
Mhm.
I didn't go research it because you gave me enough questions where I know I'm going to get a good education tonight. So I
Okay.
kind of wanted to be surprised.
Okay.
But before we jump into that a little bit, let's go ahead and throw a contact website out there. It's always good through the show to mention that. So if you
Thank
can
you.
go ahead and put your website out there. Now, folks, you can go open another browser and look at it, but don't leave our show.
Okay. It's www.designforenergy, all one word, designforenergy.com. And also, I have a Design for Energy Facebook page, and
Woohoo!
would love it if you like our page because I give lots of good tips.
And then what is it titled so they can go search for that? Is it
Design for Energy.
Design for Energy? How cool is that? So go search for Design for Energy on Facebook and go like her business page.
That's right. And you can ask me questions there as well as comments.
And
So,
that's fun.
hmm
We got our mascot next to
I
us.
love it.
Rusty the Aussie's down here
Yes.
chewing his leg off because he has allergies, but that's cool.
The second love of my life are my dogs.
Aren't they?
Oh, yes.
And do you get to spend a lot of time with them
Yes.
outside and make sure you do
Yes.
that? I get up at 5:30 every morning. We go for a walk and
Oh,
until like 7.
that's awesome.
He
I'm
loves
not
it.
that good.
Well, I have no choice because he wakes me up. And I just have coffee and I stare out the door with my hat on sideways and
Yeah.
I go. All right. So one of the things we want to talk about tonight is you are a feng shui master. That's what you claim on the questions, and I know that means a lot. So let's get into first of all. I don't. You kind of reverse the questions. I want to know what it is first.
Sure. Well, and I've been studying since 96. So over the years, all of the questions that have come about have all evolved. So it's been able to make it a lot simpler. And it's basically the two words mean wind and water. It comes from China, and it was about working with the natural flow in nature, and to looking at how everything in your life, how you can release blocks and just move with the natural energy flow of the universe. In the ancient times, Chinese agricultural farmers, they used to look for the best places to plant their crops. Where was the best water? Where was the best sunshine? Where were the best trees? That's where we want to plant our crops. Today, realtors know this as location, location, location.
Right.
So it's all about surrounding yourself with the best so that you do better.
Right.
It's really very basic, and it's nothing woo-woo. It's actually quantum physics in action because it's all about energy.
Right. Which
It's
we have.
which we have. We're made up of energy.
Yep.
Everything has energy. So we know that we can't change its essence, but we know we can move it around.
Right.
And in feng shui, it's about the movement of furnishings and objects that create a different effect.
And I would say within that feng shui, if I'm going to guess before we get deep into it, I just sensed immediately something that came to mind was discovery, um, uh, um, validation of feelings. So it sounds like there's some really diving into yourself to know how to remove or push these things away from yourself or bring them in,
Very true.
right?
And we're taught as practitioners that when you walk into someone's space, you cross their threshold, you're kind of walking into their soul.
Right.
Everything in their space is a reflection of them. It tells you something about them.
And we're so distant with instant medications today off the shelf and painkillers, and we've ruined our society with medications that it almost sounds foreign now, right? That we even talk about Eastern type of things because it sounds so foreign because we've become such an addicted to the quick fix, right? That we
Correct,
don't look
yes.
at that stuff. We
No,
don't think we can change that.
no. And
So
it really is about mindfulness and awareness and being in the
I
present
love that.
and being in the present moment and noticing that everything has meaning.
And that's hard to do.
It is in a fast-paced world.
You're
Yes, yes,
always, and depending on your personality type, green, blue, red, whatever, you can really be caught up in never seeing yourself at all, right?
absolutely.
Okay, so why feng shui? Why did you? I guess you're asking that why when you gave me our crack producers came up with all these great questions, right? And I'm
Right.
supposed by that you meant why am I doing it? So why are you doing it?
Well, I was in corporate. I did the thing that everybody does. I worked really hard, and I wasn't getting the same results as everybody. And I was like, "What's something off here?" And when I found this guy out of New York, he's an Asian architect and trained in feng shui. I said, "What the heck?" I read about that if you change your office around, you can have some better results. And he did my house by phone, and I had these amazing results that shifted my career immediately within a week. And it started happening and moving, and I had more pay raises and promotions in a 2-year period than I had in the previous 10. And I said, there's something to this. And was it anything magical?
Well, it
No.
wasn't like he waved the wand and you
No.
just sprinkled
No.
dust on you and you went, "Oh, I get it." Yeah,
Right.
I understand.
But he did some things that are feng shui principles, like had me move my desk around so I was in a more commanding position. He had me put things on the walls that were reflective of where I wanted to go in my business. And he had me add things that moved, like water feature, things that created movement. And all of this started happening. And all of a sudden, I noticed that I got a call to take go on with another division. And had I not been doing the feng shui, I probably would have ignored it. Because I knew I was doing the feng shui, I saw it as opportunity.
Okay, so that goes back to the mindfulness and the
Yes.
awareness is that if you don't tune into it, then it's not going to do any good.
No. And it's happening all the
So
time.
you've got to be aware
Yes.
of what's going on around you
Right. And
and
I was
and and
aware
look at opportunity.
that it was an opportunity. And when I took it, it created the next opportunity. And it just kept moving. And that's what happens. And people are like, oh, well, is it because you did this? I said, well, part of it. But the other was that it made me realize I had to do that.
Yeah.
That thing. So that's what I tell people. It's that we can feng shui your space and we can do all this stuff, but if you don't take action and you're not open to receiving what you're saying you want, you'll block it.
Yeah, and I think the blockers are those things like fear,
Mhm.
not taking the steps or putting the activity into it. I have a coach, and my coach right now I'm working on a choice called think into your results, and
Yes.
that means I have to be very aware, very mindful. I have to do the activity, I have to do the pondering, the
Mhm.
meditation, and the
Mhm.
writing part of it, right? To be
Correct.
aware of it. So if we're not open to the change, then you're blocking opportunity, I
Yes.
guess is a good way to say
And
it,
it's
correct?
happening all around you and you're missing it. That's the beauty of the universe is that abundance is everywhere all the time around us, but it's kind of like hovering, and it's like waiting to land.
Grab your piece.
Yeah, it's like we're wanting to land somewhere, just give us a place.
Now, do you think it's an inside out or an outside in sort of change? It's got to be an inside
It's
out,
an
right?
inside out, but for people who don't have the awareness,
It's not, yeah.
the outside helps to create the change inside.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, and that could be, is it all positive or could it be negative to get to positive?
It can be
I'm getting
yeah,
really
it
deep.
can be, yeah, I know what you're saying,
Okay.
but that's one of the reasons that I help people with their spaces because they don't have an idea of how to get to point B. So I say if you set up your space with where you would like to go, it starts happening without you even doing much.
Yeah, there's some about setting ourselves up in an environment where we're comfortable and we notice things from smells to
Hmm.
to water flowing and fountains and
Yes.
dingling. We got garden on the back porch. It
Right.
has all the wind chimes, and you just kind of get into that, right?
Yes.
And it
Right.
kind of makes you think
It makes you think.
because it takes your focus off what's ever going through your head when you hear the ding ding ding.
Absolutely.
Something cool going on.
Right.
Am I on with you right now? Am I
You're doing
getting
well.
there?
You're doing great.
Okay, good. So my next question is, we just kind of, but what obviously being at corporate is what got you into it, seeing these people having all these changes, some comes over and works with you. So let's dive a little bit more into that part because we got plenty of time. So
Okay.
what is about the movement part? What does that mean? What physically moving stuff around
Yeah.
so that it gets
Yes.
your attention more, or what is the
Y-
purpose of that?
Well, one of the things that happened was I was deciding that I needed, a shift in my career, and the feng shui master said, "Well, how's your front door?" And I said, "My front door, I don't use it." He says, "Why not?" I said, "It's stuck." And he said, "Well, how long has it been stuck?" I said, "I don't know, about 2 years." He said, "Well, when was the last time you had a pay raise?" And I looked back, and it had been 2 years. And he said, "You need to use your front door because that's what we call the mouth of chi, where the energy enters your space."
Okay.
He says, "You need to fix it and you need to start using it."
Wow.
And I did, and I also changed my desk around. And within that, by that afternoon, you'll like this story real quickly. I didn't know anybody. I was home from work. I just went through the phone book. At the time, we were using phone books. I
Yep.
looked and I found door fixer. Okay, this guy. He says, "I can come over now." I said, "Okay." He comes over. He takes the door off the hinges. He fixes it. And I'm getting ready with my checkbook. He goes, "Oh, you don't know me anything." I said, "Really?" He goes, "No, I'm the one that put the door in the first place." And he said, "And by the way, I'm the mayor of Germantown." And I'm like, and I had just moved there.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, this is good feng shui. I said, not only did my door get fixed immediately, but by the mayor. Anyway,
How cool is that?
I was just like, something's going on here. And so we fixed it, and I did the things in my office. And then, like I said, 3 days later, I get this phone call about a promotion in my business. Now, any other time, somebody might not see that as a connection, but because I knew that I was doing the changes, I took that as the sign of movement.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
I responded to the call, and it continued.
There you go.
Yes.
So in that case, the rearrangement, fixing something,
Yes.
got the right person involved, which got your attention, right?
Yes.
And then what else goes along with that? What else did he recommend for you
Right.
that helped in this room also to get your awareness up?
And it's something I tell all my clients, even CEOs of corporations, and that's to write intentions. He said, write down what you really want for your business. He said, put it in a red envelope because red is very lucky. And he said, put it up somewhere where you can see it. And it's kind of like putting the universe on notice for what you want in life.
Right.
And he said, then take action toward those things.
Yeah.
And then you'll
All,
notice that the universe just orchestrates with you.
Yeah.
I use the word universe as a general term for energy, but it's basically you're putting it out there because you're aware.
Yeah.
And you're working with it.
Just to use a scriptural verse, faith without works is dead. It ties into that because without the ability to be able to write something down and tell yourself your whatever that belief system is, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this by this date, or if you don't believe in the goals, which I don't, I like to kind of just have an activity plan, right, daily,
right,
live in the present,
right.
But you tell yourself I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to be doing this, and you start writing it and then put it somewhere and follow it, right? Get on it. It forces the action.
It does.
Or because you feel like an idiot,
right?
If you wrote that all out, and then it forces you to action because it's real hard just to sit there and ignore it at that point.
That's right.
So validate that stuff.
Yes.
Folks.
And acknowledge and be grateful when the stuff starts coming your way.
Yeah, even if you don't know what to do with it.
Yes. Yes. And I even if I asked, I said, okay, one of my goals is to get another $5,000 a month in an income, and I get a check in the mail for $5. I see it as 50. I see it as 500.
Right.
I see it as expanding.
Right. Or $49.95, and that's all I got to go.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
But no, I see what
Yeah.
you're saying.
You
You say,
expect you
and
didn't
you say, well,
expect it.
there's a step, right? There's
Yes.
a step, and part of it's already coming true.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Right.
You're not discounting. Oh, I didn't get the whole darn thing. I quit.
No. And actually, one of the feng shui principles is that everything is already happening. We have just set up blocks to it. So if we can get out of the way
That's hard,
and have a desire, guess what? It all starts to flow.
right?
It's like the universe just lays the red carpet out in front of you.
We'll have to talk about in the show when we get into the deeper part of it how your typical client from A to C, right? A to D, whatever those steps are. I'm sure it's customized for each client depending
Sure.
where they're at, right?
Yes.
So, um, how we talked a little bit about it, but let's do this. We're at 7:15. Let me mention two more sponsors real quick, and then we'll come back with some more questions. Guys, thanks for listening. We've got a great show going on tonight. We're talking about Feng Shui with Belinda Mendoza. And Belinda, real quick, right after you take that sip of water before I go to break, let's give these listeners, these fine listeners tonight, and the ones that are going to be listening to it on archive when it's over, your website.
Thank you. It's www.designforenergy.com. Designforenergy.com.
And then the Facebook biz page is Design for
Energy.
Energy. So go look her up on Facebook and like her page. She'd love that. And I want to thank two more people. I want to thank AMS Garage Doors. You're going to love this. AMS Garage Doors is located here in Austin, actually Round Rock. They're very unique in the sense that every single price that they have for whatever they're going to do is listed on their website. So you know exactly what you pay before somebody comes out and says, oh, that's going to be like, I think 90 for the, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They have them up there. But the cool thing they do is, let's say you drove home tonight, your house, and you got in the garage, and then the garage door got stuck on the way down, and you couldn't get out. Call them 24/7, even if it's after midnight. They'll come, get the car out, secure it, and then come back and fix it next day. They're awesome. They're super busy. It's amsgaragedoors.com. They're a great sponsor of the show. amsgaragedoors.com. Go check them out. They'll be happy to help you. And if your garage door is making noise, do not mess with the spring. The spring is a real dangerous thing unless you know what you're doing. So they always tell us to make sure we mention, don't try to fix it yourself. It's a dangerous thing, yeah, believe it or not. So don't get hurt. Call amsgaragedoors.com. And then Mike O'Neill. Mike O'Neill is a money coach, Belinda, in that he goes out and works with couples, individuals. He's now diving into training within corporations. He's a public speaker. But what he does is takes people and shows them how to take care of themselves first in a budget, save and start and be disciplined to end up with money at the end at the right time instead of waiting till the like long time. Now, a lot of people have been through tough times, so it's never too late to start. And you can go check out Mike O'Neill, mkoneil.com. He's the money coach. He's got videos. He's got all his courses where he's speaking. Just go to his website. Best thing to do. Go check out Mike O'Neill, mkoneil.com.
Right.
We're back.
Well, garage doors that are broken is a sign in feng shui that you're going to have money problems.
Oh,
So
well, I don't have garage doors, so I'm good.
want to fix your garage door.
Yeah, always fix your garage door and don't mess with that spring.
Okay.
That thing's coiled up like it'll put a hole in a wall if it. So just be aware of that. All right. So my question to you is, and I'm going to divide this in two. First of all, how does it help an individual or a person? And then also the second part of that question will be directed toward the business. So how does it help an individual? How would it help?
Mostly it helps in areas of life issues like career, relationships, health, anything that people are that somebody might be going through. It can be addressed from a feng shui perspective because it's said that we spend over 90% of our time in one of two places, our home or business. So our environment is going to affect us. So when we can look at our environment and make a change, we can affect a life area for somebody.
Right. And so is there...
Like a couple, for example, we would look at their bedroom. We would say if they're having marital issues, we would look at their bedroom to see if there's anything there that we could change to make it more harmonious for the couple.
Right. And then bring their awareness to the relationship.
Yes. as a result.
Right, because there has to be communication and everything else. So
Right.
that just kind of starts that ball rolling downhill is the way you approach that, right?
Absolutely.
We have to start with something here.
Uh-huh.
Movement's good. All
Correct.
right, so I'm sure in Feng Shui that there's actual customized steps. Everybody's a little different.
Right.
You might have some that block everything. You might have some that are somewhat semi-open individuals, and you might have some that are really wide open, and they're so wide open they miss it too.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I love this stuff. Let's go. And they
Yeah.
write notes all day and they do nothing.
Right.
You ever known
And
those
yes,
people?
yes. And the people who do, there are feng shui masters that will go through these huge houses and might only make a couple of suggestions, and the people's lives change enormously. Then they go to somebody, and there's, like you said, pages of notes and whatever, and they have very little change.
Right.
It's really about what you just said, is the openness and the willingness of the people to receive what they want, to say what they want. So that's very true. I mean, we get all that. But I started out working with small businesses because I came out of corporate, and I that was my job, was to turn lagging businesses around. So I love that. But I kept getting calls from the homeowners and the realtors about trying to sell the houses, things like that. So I'll end up doing that for quite a bit of time. And my love is still, like I said, working with small to medium businesses because they make the changes right away and they see the results very quickly.
And what would a typical call from a business sound like? Somebody calls you up and says, "Hey, I don't know anything about feng shui, right? But you were referred to me." I imagine that happens a lot.
Right.
And they probably ask you, "So what is this?"
Right.
And then you have to go and do you sit down with them for an hour first and go through
I
some
do.
assessment program?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I always give people a free 30-minute phone assessment to talk about any and discover what needs they might have and how I can help them. But then actually I can go on site and talk to them about what might be going on and the different ways that I can work with them. Pretty much, I would say, it's been several years now where most of the businesses that I get are from a referral person. Somebody said, "Oh, Belinda, can really help you with this." But I would say the ones that don't have some kind of a sense of feng shui. Living in Austin, ironically, I have probably 80% of my business clients are not from here. They're from California, New York, other cities
And is it and the
and
difference
they're
is
familiar with feng shui.
okay, so they've heard of it, they know about it.
Yes,
So
they want it.
you've got a good migration of folks that are familiar with the Chinese.
With that art, and so they're like, this is something we want. The others are just looking for somebody who can help them with their business because it's struggling, and then I talk to them about how I can help them.
And then
Because
you'll put together a plan to bring their awareness and mindset. Is there a
yes,
follow-up deal? Is it
and
coaching on
there's
is it on the
coach.
phone?
It's
And
it's all in person. I
okay,
go
cool.
to I go to the business and I look and I meet with the owner and talk to them about everything that might be going on and what changes they can make, and then I put together a plan of action for them, and then I follow up with them. Either I help them implement it, whether it means painting, whether it means getting a new sign, whether it means moving furniture around, or if it means you need a new website, because that's all part of it.
Right.
Your face. I mean, how are you showing yourself to the public is part of the feng shui. So I address all of that, and then I follow up with them, and then I do offer like a monthly coaching mentoring program to stay in touch so they get the results.
So it's a real, and what I was trying to get at is then it's a real, I call it like a workshop, work through,
Yes,
constant. I'm not going to call it babysitting because that's not what coaches do,
right.
but there is an accountability side to that,
Absolutely.
right? That you're
Yes.
going to make them tell you why this wasn't done or what happened when this, what did you block, what did you feel like, right? All that goes into it.
Yes, because I used to get calls for people who just wanted tips, and I'll say, well, I just want you to give me some tips. Well, that doesn't really help you because if I give you a tip and I go away, I don't know that you've implemented it correctly. And then what happens when it leads to the next thing?
Right.
So it's better for me to say, let's work together, put a package together just for you,
Right.
and see you from point A to point B.
Right, and then at some point, well, I'll release you, or we'll talk about it when the
Yes,
time comes, right? Because there's got to be an exit, and then they can always come back if they get stuck,
yes, and
right?
it's usually not more than a 2 or 3 month um,
That
working.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really not much longer than that.
So, resistance.
Re-
What is your big resistance question? Oh, I don't believe in this stuff, and you know what? right?
Right. Well, you mentioned networking groups or something that maybe we're talking briefly. I have been networking since I came to Austin 8 years ago, and I don't get many referrals from that. And I know the reason why is because I heard someone say one time, "Oh, well, when I hear somebody who wants feng shui, I'll let them know, I will call you." I go, "Well, that's not ever going to happen."
Right.
Most people don't walk around going, "Do you
I
know feng
need
shui
feng
consulting?
shui. Right.
Do you know somebody?" I said, when you hear somebody struggling in their business or somebody struggling in their life or they don't like their environment, that's a referral. And so it's been my job of educating people to say feng shui is my tool, but it's not
Yeah, it's
it's
one of your
not
tactics, it's one of your
to get
weapons, and I
you
don't mean that in a bad way, but
sure,
it's one of the things that they have to be educated a little bit on. You just don't say, "Here you go. Here's a
right,
plan," right?
right. Yeah, so basically it's the resistance that people think it's maybe not part, it's a religious thing, or is it okay for me to, use this because it's no, it's basically we're talking about. We don't even use Asian cures if you don't like them. I mean, if your house is not Asian, I'm not going to make you put a frog on the front
No,
door,
no.
because that's a
Right.
feng shui thing.
Right. Yeah,
Okay?
it's not re-indoctrinating somebody and trying to change
No,
something they believe in.
at
It
all.
right. It just works along with whatever you're doing
Yes.
now.
Yes.
And the thing that keeps drawing me in is mindfulness, awareness, and the
Yes.
ability for a person to unblock themselves.
Yes.
And takes you to give them a little bit of a
Yes.
nudge to start that ball rolling,
And most
right?
people will tell you they can tell when a space doesn't feel good. They can tell you when a space feels good,
You
but they
feel
don't
overwhelmed.
but they don't know how to fix it.
Right. Yeah.
And
I don't know
that's
where
where
to
I come
start.
in.
I don't know where to
Yeah,
start,
right.
right?
And speaking about overwhelm is clutter, right? Clutter is the biggest energy drain and block that people have. And it's a very difficult thing because there's a lot of emotion behind,
Yeah.
and some of it is practical. You just don't have the space. The other is just people don't want to get rid of stuff.
And to the people that don't want to get rid of stuff, I could see that as a real hassle. You know what
It's
I'm
very
saying?
hard.
Because you can keep a place with a lot of stuff, homey and
Mhm.
environment good with plants
Mhm.
and decorate it
Mhm.
right. That seems to be what we do because we run a
Yes.
couple businesses out of here. But we keep it neat. We keep
Yes.
it, and it's not just piled all over the place.
Right.
So there's a difference. And so,
Yes.
but clutter's
Oh,
a killer. Clutter on a desk is
yes.
killer. You
It
can
is.
see from
It
mine
is.
that I keep one page of notes out. I keep it cleaned up. There's a reason. I don't
Right.
want to feel like I'm overwhelmed,
Absolutely.
right?
That's the most important thing. And we have a lot of people that just I work with a lot of wonderful organizers, and I'm happy to send them to my clients because they need the help. It's not something that they can do on their own. They've been living with it, so it's hard for them to move out of it.
Right, absolutely. And so I would imagine that, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper with the next question on that typical client or that business client we're talking about. What is the best personality you work with? Is there a from a top to least that you can work with? I mean, we'll get into who it doesn't work for at the end, but I want to find out. So you work with the really hyper? Do they seem to be the ones that call you first, or the real mellow, or who generally fits
Yeah.
into your world?
Yeah, the really, really hyper nervous, anxious type client is not my favorite client. Okay. I can tell you honestly, I do work with them
Right,
and I do my best and
right,
I am a calming agent for them, but I don't find that I help them very far because they're dealing on such a high anxiety level that this is like a fix for them. Okay, help me fix this, but then what do I do after you leave? So you're still dealing with a little bit um, of you feel like you haven't done the work because the person's still not there. The ideal client is somebody who is has a real
keep going.
interest in self-cultivation
Right.
and is very interested in creating something and
Got our mascot moving around.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Got
yeah.
it.
So those people are they're fun to talk to. They're usually worldly. They're usually have traveled. They've had lots of interests. And so this is fascinating to them. They want every aspect of it. They're really into the process. They don't just want me to leave them the information and have somebody else do it for
Best
them.
clients in the world to work with, right, are the ones that are cooperative.
They really
and,
just
and want to work it, want to learn, and want to implement, right?
right,
That's anybody,
Yes,
but especially in this.
especially in this.
Okay. And are there any and this question comes up because I'm thinking now that as you're explaining things, is there any secrets to this? The what have we learned from the Chinese that uh because they seem to be use a lot of the natural
Mhm.
energy. They seem to have that mentality, right?
Right,
Because
right.
they're raised with it,
They're
right?
right. They had to. They didn't have
So,
anything else.
yeah, so what is there secrets to this?
They're
Because
really
you're a master, right? So there's
well,
you know some things we don't know, obviously.
well, and the term master just means, years and years of training and studying and
Right.
working with the art. But to be, truly mastering it, it takes for many, many.
Yeah, I was going to say nothing's ever mastered in our
No,
life. I get
no, and
that.
that's
But
what.
what I
Yes,
meant was is that there's got to be some stuff, you've learned from repetition learning
yes,
with clients and discovery that
yes,
you have experience in, so that brings a lot to the
yes.
table. But I just wondered if there was any secrets that came along with this that that you learned through your education, right? That
Right.
little tricks and things you went, oh
Yes,
wow, that's
yes.
a big light bulb.
Well, I feel like there are many, but if I had to probably narrow it down to one thing, it's this concept of chi and how it is in everything and how everything is reflected as is symbolic in life. And it means something, and that everything that we've placed in our environment, we've done on a subconscious basis, if not consciously. And so that's why I can walk into somebody's bedroom and tell them what kind of problems they're having in their relationship, and they think I'm a psychic. And it's not that. It's that I can tell because of what you've placed around. I can tell that there's distance. I can tell that they're
Yeah,
that,
I would think that our actions
yes,
carry out our emotions, right? Isn't that the
yes.
truth? I mean, there's this thing called feeling,
Mhm.
attitude, and behavior, FAB,
Mhm.
right? So if you have a feeling, you're going to have an attitude,
Mhm.
and then you're going to behave. So
Yes.
you can look at the end result, which
Mhm.
would be the behavior of how something was done, to
Right.
know what those first two issues are
Correct.
driving crazy, right?
Yes.
That's the
And they're
best I can
and
picture in
they're
my
like
head.
you said, they're in the mire of it. They can't see it for themselves. They've been to every counselor and they're still arguing and they're still not getting along and they still can't see that the main thing that's the block for them.
Right.
Um, and so yeah, so it's a major healing occurs in a lot of my consultations because of it. And it'll be things that I mention to them and they're like, "Oh my God, how did you know that?" Or "That's so true." It's because
Yeah.
of what is
And also you've
you've
seen it
surrounded.
enough and
Yes.
you pick up on it.
Mhm.
Right. That's
Mhm.
awesome. All right, guess what? We're going to take another break.
Okay.
Take a deep breath. Let's give them your website one more time.
Okay. www.designforenergy.com.
Awesome. And I want to get into some other things on your website when we get back from the break, but I want to thank two more of my great sponsors. Charles Schiller is with Round Rock Home Inspector.com. So if you're selling a home or buying a home, Charles has been protecting home buyers for 20 years. It is well worth your while to go get a home inspector and have your own home inspection done, and don't rely on reports from others. You are buying an investment in your life, or you're selling one and you want to get the most dollars for your home. You need to know what's going on with it and get it fixed before you sell it, or before you buy one, you want to make sure that foundation works. You want to make sure that $12,000 HVAC is not going to go out in the middle of next summer. You want to make sure there's no water leaks. All this stuff is done by Charles. He's been protecting home buyers. You can find him at roundrockhomeinspector.com. And then my coach, Danny L. Smith. Danny L. Smith you can find him at dannylsmith.com. He is, believe it or not, loan officer for over 30 years, but his real call is guerrilla marketing for realtors, guerrilla marketing techniques, right? And he's a great personal coach. He's John Maxwell certified. I think we all know who John Maxwell is in our life, right? And you can find him at dannylsmith.com. He's got a lot of things coming up, a mastermind course that's coming up. Go check out his website, Danny L. Smith. Go check it out. All right, we're back. Thank you for letting me mention these guys right here tonight on the show. And then your entrance is. Hello, I'm here.
Hi.
Kind of cool, huh?
Yeah, that is cool.
All right, so we are slowly going through our questions. Time's flying, right?
It is.
So, yeah, and we didn't ask this. I never got around to this. So, what is the most common thing people call you for, generally?
Money.
Really? You
Yeah.
think? In
Yeah, I
today, in
mean,
this society? Come on.
yeah, everybody wants more prosperity, more abundance. Now, I do have very wealthy clients, and they don't call for that. They call because they want their house to feel more harmonious and have they want what they would call, you know, things to be maintained, have better health and things of that nature. Um, but even the wealthy clients, they want the money to continue. They want it to
They
be
want the prosperity to continue
because they got to pay for all the stuff they
that
have.
they
So,
have. Yeah.
but yeah, no, I think that seems to be the one thing because people need to be able to support themselves and that makes sense. But I always point out it's only one aspect of the wheel that you need your health. You need to be able to have good relationships, good work that you're doing that's fulfilling, and you need to be able to be creative in life. All these things tie into abundance.
Yeah, because one doesn't balance out.
Right.
I would call that obsessive, or you start getting into your addiction if the workaholism is the one balance thing you do and nothing else, right?
Right.
So it all has to have that
And usually
center.
when you go to someone's business, you find out that it's not um, the money isn't really the reason that they're struggling. It's because of the other issues, and it could even be like relationship issues with the
Yeah, funny
employees.
how that works.
Yes.
It's never about the thing that you're talking
Mhm.
about,
Is that
right?
true?
The big mountain you've made
Mhm.
is really down
Mhm.
here
Yeah.
at the bottom.
But all businesses, all small businesses, I love working with like dental offices and doctors' offices and retail stores, smaller things. Everybody wants more money. They want to make money. And so that's great. So you want to go in there and help them keep that going and moving forward. And with that, I had one guy who was just money, 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 and to the detriment of all the employees. He was just treating them like slaves. And
Right.
they're dropping like flies because and he was calling me up. He goes, "Well, we need to do something about the employees." And I'm like, hold on, you're doing the
Is
problem.
that kind of like the dog that walks you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Well, you need to train my dog.
Right.
Well, who's
Yep.
right? Who's in control
Who's the
there?
controller?
Right.
And so yeah, so I had to pull back and say, wait a second. It's just, greed is not a good thing.
Right. Agreed. And so realize that the story of that most common cause money, but generally with the feng shui, you're dealing with the balance, you're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with other things that have to be looked at. So again, we're going back to this, and this one I'm picking up, Belinda, right, is this undying awareness and mindfulness of ourselves.
Yes.
And I think that people think that that sounds so basic and cliche, but you think about your daily tasking, your schedules you put on your little sticky notes, the calendar you have to follow, the gas you have to put in the car, the grocery store you got to go see, the dog you got to go walk, the time you've got to answer clients on the phone, and then the day's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't been really aware of anything
Right.
or mindful about anything.
Right.
Didn't stop and smell the roses,
Right.
right? So I'm thinking you get people to slow down a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
do those things.
Well, one of the things that we used to say is that what it does is it's not a woo art. It's basically that we take and have you take a look at every aspect of your life and apply attention to it
Right.
because otherwise you've neglected it. So there's this Bagua wheel, which is an eight-sided triagram based on the ancient I Ching, and we use this map to map out spaces, and it'll have your career, your relationships, your fame, your creativity. It's just so that you can look at all these areas in your space and say, okay, you shouldn't be in your bedroom and also have your little refrigerator and your desk and your laptop and your kids' uh, playpen.
Yes.
Bedroom is just for sleeping.
Separate things
Every
out, right?
function,
Have a
yes.
place for different things so
Yes.
you have a place to go.
Every room has its own function and should therefore will attract energy. Your bedroom is just for partnership and romance. Your kitchen is just for health. Your living room is for family. Your office is for work.
Makes total sense.
So you'll gain energy if each room has its own function. And that's what we try to do is help
And
people
you'll
do that.
focus on that
And
function
you'll
more
focus
when
on
you're
it.
in, when you know that that's the function of the room.
Absolutely.
That makes total sense too.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of this now, I know you're going to probably, you might come back at me a little bit, but I'm seeing a lot of common sense if we learn how to use it.
Absolutely. Everybody says that. They said, oh, well, I knew
But
that. Why
but
didn't
but
I
you
think
knew
about it?
it because they weren't thinking about it, and I didn't just think of that till you just said it honestly.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's my goal is, I mean, my job is to say,
Man,
yeah, I know that you know this, but I actually can help you get there.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So you get them unstuck from that.
Right. Right.
Wow, very entertaining. Okay, so here we go. We've got a lot to cover, and we're moving right along here. I hope
Okay.
you don't
Good.
mind.
No, it's great.
So, is there anybody that you cannot help?
Yes, I think that, and reason I say that is because I get people that want to give a gift certificate. Oh,
They want a Groupon.
no, it's like, oh, Belinda, I want to give my daughter-in-law needs this bad.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
that kind of thing. I
Yes.
want to help
I
them
want to
out
give,
so I
yeah.
feel better about myself.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to give this to my
I need
sister-in-law.
about 10. Can
Yes.
I have
Yes.
10? I've got
Yes.
10 people
I want to. Yes.
need your help.
Yes. Okay. And then you go to their house and they look at you like, "Why are you here?" And I don't need your help. Okay. So no, you don't want to do that.
No,
As
no.
well-meaning as you'd
You're
like.
not going to work with clients where you just
No.
hand out a gift
No.
certificate. They don't. They're not going to call you and be attracted to it.
No.
They're not going to want to do it.
No.
That makes total
Not
sense.
at all. And then the other would be somebody who just, you're working with a couple and one of the parties is not into it, the other one is. And so I always ask them on the phone, I said, is this something that, you're both into? Well, no, my husband's not into it at all. I said, well, is he going to be part of the process? No, not really, but he'll be here.
No,
Well, no.
no, you're not going to go
Yes,
there because it's not going
it's
to do any
not.
good.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
they'd be coming back at you asking for, that proverbial, I want my money back, didn't
Absolutely.
work, so why hassle with
No,
it? So
that's right.
you've learned to uh, work with the clients that really want to work and those,
Yes,
and learn how to say no, obviously.
absolutely. You have to.
I know, but it's hard for a lot of people to say no,
Mm-hmm.
right, when they know
Mm-hmm.
they should.
Yes.
Where do gut feelings play into this stuff?
Gut feelings in terms of the client or me?
Well, let's just say gut feelings in terms. Let me give you an example. Like you were talking about a client. I know when I'm not supposed to work with somebody
Yes.
the minute I meet them,
Uh-huh. Yes.
and I don't even have to do an assessment,
Yes, I agree.
right? I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know just by the things that were said or by body
Mm-hmm.
motion, I just know it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't learn that. I learned that the hard way when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
But you just know some people aren't going to work, and it's not to hurt their feelings or anything. You just say, you know what? I think there's a better match. I'm going to help you find it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I'm going to push you in the right direction because my service is not going to work.
Right. And I have definitely had to do that.
Okay, so that's part of it too, right?
Yes, I do believe
Okay,
in that.
so where does this fall into that kind of religion category? Where do we put Feng Shui? Where does it
Okay.
fall in?
Good question. It's not a religion, it's a philosophy.
Okay,
It's based on what we call the Tao, the TAO, which is basically man's connection with nature.
right,
And so basically it's the yin and yang of life, the duality that when you have sadness, you have joy. When you have light, you have dark. So in the space, we always look at balance. How do we balance? If it's all white, what do we need to bring in to make a
more
little more
color, yeah,
color? So it's that. So it's a philosophy of life called the Tao.
right.
There's nothing religious about it. Anybody can uh,
Figure it out.
can figure it out. Anybody can use it. Any decor works. The fact that it came from China and they have these cures or these remedies that they use is because that's what they used. But today, if I say we really need to put some metal over here to balance out, it could be something that you love that's metal. It could be your computer.
Right. Yeah. So it can be as simple as that, or it
Yes.
could be a lot more in depth. But
Yes.
okay, so the yin and the yang, which is the opposites, right?
Yes.
And you want to have a balance of both,
Right.
and based on the Tao. So that's where it comes from, and that's just the natural thing,
It is. And it also works with the five elements in nature,
right?
which
Water,
is water,
fire,
fire,
ice,
earth,
sand. I'm
earth.
messing with you.
You got
I know.
sand.
I'm
You got
messing with you. Go ahead.
earth, wood, metal.
Middle. Right.
Okay, so we try to make sure that they're all in the environment because it's mimicking nature, and
Got
that's
it.
all we do in feng shui is we're mimicking nature.
Got it. right. And I would say that nature is a big draw, and all you have to do is take anybody to a nice quiet park or somewhere and realize. And I always get that when I used to play a lot of golf. The funnest thing about playing the 18 holes was not my game, I assure you. It
Yep.
was driving around a golf cart and enjoying the trees and getting away
Right.
from everything.
Right.
So, nature's been put there by
Yes.
God for a reason, right?
Yes.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
Get
And
into it.
and create it around you. I mean, like the cement pond of downtown Austin of condos that are going up. I love to work with condo owners because we want to bring nature in because you're not really seeing it.
Right,
You're
right,
living in a building.
right.
And so it'd be nice to be able to create a garden on your
I
patio.
think that's why Central Park's so attractive to
Yes.
people in New York City because they can
Yes.
go out of their tall buildings and go out into this big,
It's
huge
right
play
there.
park that has play and
Absolutely.
frisbee and it's right there. So that was very smart, right? To have
That's
that
great
little bit
feng
of that,
shui.
right? Because you can't get away from it. All
Mhm.
right, so we're winding down a little bit here. Let's give them your website again.
Okay, it's www.designforenergy.com. And also wanted to let people know that I've written my first book.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I was going to get into the authorship thing. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it has to do with my second love, which has nothing to do with what we've talked about, which is dogs. And having lost my precious pet
Oh,
a few years ago, I journaled to get through that grief. And it ended up being my first book, which is Feng Shui for Healing the Loss of a Pet.
yeah, we went through that.
And it's all about the fact that when you are grieving, you are out of balance. And so, how do you restore your balance? And that book talks about the things that I went through and ways that you can bring yourself back and still keep the spirit of your loved one with you and move through the process.
I
Because
understand.
when you stay stuck in grief, you don't move through the process of
No,
life.
no. And that includes pets,
Yes,
people,
yes,
anybody you're close to, family members. So believe me, I've been through it, and I
yeah,
will tell you that it will outbalance you for a couple years.
yes.
And you just better be prepared to ride through it or whatever you got to
Mhm.
do, and you got to allow yourself to grief, but you got to find a place at some point to
Yeah.
work through it,
Yes.
right?
Yes, because it's a natural part of life, and you do want to move through it because
Yeah.
that's nature's
And I
way.
think Kiba Ross in her book on death and dying, and I guess
Oh,
this
it's
applies,
beautiful.
goes through her 5 steps of what we go through, and they don't necessarily are in that order, but they're
Right.
steps that we all go through, and everybody goes through it,
Yes.
and it may last longer in one than the other. So
Yes. I
cool,
reference her because she's awesome.
good. So you got it, and it's really when's this book going to be available
No,
for
it's it's
people?
it's available on
Can they
Amazon.
get on their
They sure
website? Can they go
Yes,
to a
they can go
link
to
on
my
there?
website
Okay,
and it's available on Amazon as well.
that is cool.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
and we'll get it out there. I mean, after the show tonight, when you get back home, maybe if you can shoot me a link to
Sure.
that directly to that page on your
Okay.
website, I can include it in the player so people can direct click to that.
Okay,
If
thank
that's
you.
cool, so
That'd be
we'll do
awesome.
that. Okay. And so I'm intrigued.
Thank you.
I like what I've heard tonight. I didn't really know what to expect.
Mhm.
I knew from Feng Shui, I knew that it came. I knew it was China based.
Yep.
That's obvious, right? But I didn't know what it involved. If it was
Mhm.
developed by Buddhists, that
Mhm.
are there that brought it through. I just
Mhm.
wasn't aware of it. But I tell you what I learned tonight:
Okay.
awareness and having a mindset. Balance is
Mhm.
important, and
Mhm.
that you use the yin and the yang
Mhm.
and the Tao, which is the balance
Mhm.
of things around you, the
Yes.
motion and the way you set up your house, your rooms,
Mhm.
and you keep yourself in kind of a wagon wheel balance, right?
Right.
That all the spokes are even. That's your
Right.
work.
Right.
Your job is to help somebody from A to Z, A to B, A to D, right? And get them settled
Yes.
and figure out what's going on.
Right. Wherever they are, help them move to the place that they want to get to.
Right. And then what's the best way? I know your website's probably the best way. Is that where you want people to find you and reach you?
That's the easiest way.
Okay.
Sure is.
And that website is again one more time for our listeners?
www.designforenergy.com.
That's awesome. So, any
Yes.
final thoughts?
No, just that I really love helping people, and I just think that the world needs more harmonious environments. And hopefully everybody gets some tip from tonight that they will make a change in their space that will make a difference.
Yeah, and I'd say go visit Belinda's website, take a look at it, definitely go order the book about the pet thing because that happens to a
Mhm.
lot of us all the time. We went through that a couple years ago, but we were cool enough to go out and rescue another wonderful critter that's laying here
Yes.
between our legs because we think it's important that life continues,
Oh, no
and that
question.
also it helped, by the way,
Yes.
after 2 years. So it was a
Yes.
good thing we did it.
Yeah, I'm a mom of two small Yorkies.
Right, right. That's cool. So
Yes.
what'd you think about being on what'd you think about the show tonight?
I loved it. It was
Fun.
easy and very comfortable and just like a conversation as you had mentioned and
Just kitchen table
just
talk.
really flowing. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
And for our listeners out there, we have other sponsors. What we'll do is we're going to have all the sponsors linked on the custom player. You can go to Facebook and check out the Hurdyburg Broadcast Network. I have a group. It's open, and you can add yourself to it. I'll make sure we get connected
Okay.
to ourselves tonight. And also, if you're an Austin business and happen to catch a show tonight and you want to be on this show, my wonderful sponsors who pay for my time and energy to make it work allows our small businesses to come on at no charge so they can sit and talk like you're doing tonight and kind of tell us a little bit more in depth about what goes on. So we appreciate our
Okay.
listeners tonight. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to say? Oh, hoo, yippee, yi-o, ki something,
No,
right?
I just wish everybody total abundance and a
Right.
wonderful year of the horse.
That's right. Hey, everybody, you've been listening to the Hurdyburg Internet Broadcast Network, and we are here live every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. with Small Business out of Austin, Texas. If you did catch the show tonight, thank you for listening and pay attention. It will be up on archive on YouTube. You guys have a great night. We'll see you around the corner next week, next Tuesday, 7 to 8 p.m. Have a great evening.